Today, we're going to look at why we crave sugar so much, what are ways that we can overcome our cravings for sugar, and how these lessons can generalize to other cravings other than sugar. Welcome to See It Visualized. My name is Basim. Hope you enjoy. Why aren't we comfortable here? Why do we insist on straight lines, icy drinks, and soft chairs? Why is life a struggle, even when we have the things that we need to survive? There is a burning desire to fill what seems like an everlasting abyss with trinkets, experiences, delights, an endless stream of effort disappearing into the unfillable. The abyss is never sated, only silenced for a moment before it continues to dominate your mind. A hunger that never ends. To understand the root of this curse of wanting, we must first examine our past. We must learn how we were chiseled by a cruel but efficient sculptor, the maker of all natural life, the process of evolution by natural selection. Evolution is blind and unforgiving. It doesn't care, it doesn't judge, it only unfolds. Species by species, organism by organism, gene by gene, it tinkers and tweaks. But even the simplest process can bring about the most sophisticated outcomes. The core of evolution is not the survival of the species or even the happiness of the individual organism. It's the continued propagation of the genes that are best at survival. Each species is simply a vessel for the genetic code, and each individual an experiment. And this process is the reason why chocolate tastes like happiness and a kiss can make you feel complete. The abyss, the feeling of not being comfortable, is the actual lived experience of an individual organism relentlessly getting pushed around by the forces imparted on them by their genetic code. You crave sugar not because it's good for you, but because the organisms that didn't seek sugar were less likely to survive. And so they died in greater numbers. And those that felt the urge to consume sugar
survived and passed on that trait to their descendants,
eventually giving rise to you.
Your craving for sugar in the year 2026 began its journey billions of years ago.
Back when simple cells were developing the ability for chemotaxis, the ability to detect gradients of chemicals and then moving towards higher concentrations if that chemical was helpful, especially if it provided energy, and away from it otherwise if it was toxic. Then, about 500 million years ago, our ancestors acquired the mesolimbic dopamine pathway,
or what I like to call the craving machine.
Now, instead of just floating towards higher concentrations, you crave the higher concentration of whatever it is that you are looking for. There's a big difference between just moving towards something versus craving it. In fact, dopamine, often incorrectly referred to as the pleasure molecule, is in fact the molecule that encodes wanting, desire. If I ring a bell and give you chocolate, at first, dopamine will flow when you eat the chocolate. But the 10th time I do it, the dopamine flows simply when you hear the bell. So dopamine signals wanting. It is the heart of craving, of any type.
The fuel that powers the abyss.
Also, dopamine loves unpredictability. If I eat the same amount of sugar at the same time every day, the dopamine rewards lessen. However, if you suddenly find a giant ice cream sundae when you've been only eating vegetables for a month, it bursts with excitement.
The craving machine is a prediction engine.
And it loves to be surprised. The more unpredictable the experience, the more effusive it gets. And this is what sets the rest of the story into motion. About 300 million years ago, in a landscape decorated with photosynthesizing carbohydrate factories that we call plants,
the T1R2 and the T1R3 genes encode for proteins that were able to snap together and, as a result, detect glucose molecules directly.
We experienced sweetness for the first time in history. Given sugar's energy density and its ability to boost your survival, this new input signal ended up getting wired directly into the existing craving machine that had been built by evolution to point the organism towards what is useful.
Later, about 140 million years ago, plants turned the table on their predators and demonstrated that, in fact, the craving machine can be hijacked.
They enveloped their seeds into blobs of sugar and laid them out as bait. The craving machine sensed sugar and ate up the bait and expelled the seeds far and wide, effectively turning into a seed disperser. The fruit expansion had arrived, and the sugar pathway had been exploited for the first time.
And then, the most crucial tweak of all.
15 million years ago, fruit, which had been reliably available in the temperate climates of the past, suddenly became incredibly scarce. Our ape ancestors struggled to survive. In this group, a mutation developed which shuts off the uric acid gene.
This is the gene that allows our bodies to process uric acid, a side product of processing fructose in our bodies.
Now, with this gene shut off, uric acid could build up easily in the body. And fructose is especially good at triggering the body to produce uric acid. Damningly though, the presence of uric acid switches the body into fat storage mode. The craving machine has now a turbo boost attached to it, driving the craving for fructose even higher than other sugars, because as soon as you put it into your body, it immediately gets stored and you want more. Our ancestors became maniacs for fruit, which, while it allowed them to survive through the harsh winters by being the first ones to get any fruit, also left in their descendants the echoes of this incessant obsession with sugar. Two million years ago, the final nail in the coffin, the brain explosion. Our ancestors' brains tripled in size, and our need for sugar followed. While it accounts for only 2% of our body weight,
The brain burns 20% of the glucose in our bodies. It is a computer that runs on sugar.
the African jungles had dried up into savannas where fruit was scarce over the past 10 million years. Which brings us back to the modern mismatch and the supernormal stimuli we are subject to. See, the machine doesn't actually respond to the fruit. It responds to the signals generated by the fruit when it interacts with your body's sensors.
And we have engineered foods that overwhelm those receptors in a way that nature never thought possible.
The craving machine is not only noisy, it's greedy. It is built to maximize not just the frequency, but also the size of the reward that it seeks. So we don't just crave sweet foods, we crave the sweetest foods. Bananas are better than vegetables, sure, but ice cream is sweeter than bananas. Better yet, why not both together? A machine designed to spot fireflies in the dark is getting blasted in the face with a floodlight. We were programmed to desire sugar, acquire it, consume it, and store it as part of our own bodies.
In a time of scarcity, this madness made sense.
At least it favored your survival amongst your peers. But now, we are absolutely drowning in sugar. The craving machine has been completely hijacked. The craving machine does not require any conscious input to function. It runs all on its own. It's not a passive machine either. It yells, it screams at you, it demands, it throws tantrums, and you are not the programmer.
Your conscious brain has no direct control over how the craving machine functions at any given moment.
It simply dictates a never-ending series of cravings at you. And so, what is one to do in this horrendous situation? Can we influence this machine?
Let's start with the environment itself.
If you make sugar scarce, then you physically cannot get it. This is how it was for our ancestors for a majority of their existence. This is why the craving is so strong in the first place. But for us, with the modern mismatch, when you stand in a grocery store, you are surrounded with sugar. And so, the way we can fight back is by engineering our immediate environment. This means not buying snacks when you are at the grocery store.
Overcoming the craving once at the grocery store, so for the 1,000 cravings at home, you don't even have a choice.
The machine is insistent, but it's also lazy. Remember, ultimately the machine is just trying to get you to survive and have enough energy. And so, if it deems the cost of taking action to acquire that energy too high, it's going to get quieter. We can try to hack the workings of the machine itself. While we don't have direct control over the code, we can hijack some of the machine's own components and use them against it. For example, we can tell the machine to stay quiet.
GLP-1s, Ozempic being the most popular name brand, hijack the body's existing satiety mechanisms.
You see, the machine already has a wire going into it that tells it to stop asking for more. This is the feedback loop that makes the abyss go quiet for some moments, right after you binge, before the roar comes back. Usually, it takes eating sugar to make this wire just whisper for a few minutes. GLP-1s turn the signal in this wire up to 1,000% and forcefully keeps it there. The feedback wire starts yelling back at the machine and overrules it, fighting fire with fire. And this is why these drugs are exceedingly effective for weight loss.
Though effective, we don't quite yet know the full downstream effects of using this new class of drugs.
Given they are fairly new, and the machine is quite complex under the hood, only time will tell what unintended consequences come from this. But for now, this is the best medical tool that we have available to us.
can also change how you process the output of the machine. Realize that this machine ultimately cannot act in the world itself. It's a part of you, but it needs to commandeer your hands, your feet, and your mouth for its own agendas. It needs you to buy the ice cream at the grocery store. It needs you to pay for it. It needs you to bring it home and put it in the freezer. And then when it screams, it needs you to walk to the freezer, pull out the ice cream, and put it into your mouth. From the moment a craving arises in your awareness to the moment you eat the sugar, you have a window of time to reflect. Realize that the machine does not yell continuously. Rather, it is much like a child throwing a tantrum. If you wait a bit, it will get tired, stop yelling, at least for the moment. It pulses in waves, and the less you feed it, the less frequently and the less virulently it yells. It never stops yelling, though it does get quieter. Though this urge surfing, as it's called, may be more or less effective depending on your body, the extension of this to its natural end is indeed mindfulness or the meditative approach, the problem of the craving machine. Observing the arising of cravings as they happen and naturally letting them pass, knowing that they cannot stay around forever. You can also try doing what the machine is actually asking you to do, which is put more energy in your body. You just do it in a different form than junk food. When you get cravings for sugar, if you eat vegetables instead, you will eventually get the machine to shut up. You will not get the same pleasure boost from the reward system. Dopamine will not get released in the same way, but you will absolutely get the machine to quiet down. There's only so many ounces of cucumber you can fit into your stomach before the machine groans and stops demanding any food at all. Though I suspect you will stop eating them long before you're full. There's a bit more nuance than this though. Everyone's craving machine has wildly different configurations and settings. Some are stuck, screaming at the top of their lungs, demanding non-stop, while others are barely whispering. This means some people just feel full, and others less so. Biological machines aren't perfect replicators, which is how evolution works in the first place. Mutation. And thus, we all experience cravings differently. But sugar is just one of the things demanded by the machine. See, the machine isn't just demanding, it wants diversity as well. Sex, alcohol, money, success. Sugar is just one facet. And once again, it's set to a different configuration for each of us. The machine demands sugar and fat because it wants energy to survive. It demands salt because we need sodium to stay alive. It makes us thirsty so we may get water. It wants us to have sex so we can reproduce. It wants us to chase social validation because staying in the group meant staying alive. But then it can also go off the rails. It makes us demand drugs because they hijack the machine directly by releasing dopamine with little or no lasting pleasure
once the addiction has full hold.
At least, sugar provides energy.
Drugs are a glitch in the mechanism, existing for their own sake without providing any real value to the body. It's the most devastating form of addiction because of this very simplicity.
Nothing else fully replicates the effects of a strong drug because nothing in nature can provide that level of supernormal stimulus.
Porn, social media, TikTok are all examples of supernormal stimuli as well. The machine craves, sure, but it screams and craves because it wants connection, not social media. For almost all of humanity's history, the only way to get intimacy was from an actual human being. But now it doesn't have to be that way. And because the machine is really good at identifying the fastest and easiest way to get the signal that it needs to feel that the job is done, they turn to social media instead of real connection. Because remember, the machine doesn't actually see the real world. It just sees the signals that are generated by our body. Gambling takes it even a step further. Gambling is a devastating glitch in the system. As we learned, the machine also loves to be surprised and attaches a higher reward with a higher unpredictability. Gambling directly hijacks this part of the machine by making outcomes entirely random and also attaches with them gigantic positive rewards.
For people who are addicted to gambling, it really feels as alluring as drugs, food, or sex. And the approaches that we've discussed today for sugar also generalize to other types of cravings. Now, none of these are a silver bullet in themselves, but their combination can be quite powerful. First, control your environment and systematically limit your access to the target of your cravings.
Don't bring home alcohol, make certain websites unavailable on your computer. Realize that the reason sports gambling apps are making money hand over fist is because they destroyed the natural safety net that was provided by the physical distance from casinos.
The fact that you can gamble straight from your phone is devastating for gambling addicts.
Second, try to develop an aversion to the stimulus itself if possible. Arguably, this is the hardest approach, like trying to find sugar not as sweet.
Next, you can hijack the machine using medical or medicinal interventions. Now, I've never been on drugs like GLP-1s. However, I've seen them used quite successfully in my own peer circles, and obviously medical research backs them up too.
There is actually some literature that suggests that GLP-1s are also quite effective at making the machine quiet for other cravings.
In fact, early research shows that people taking GLP-1s for fat loss are also seeing reduced alcohol cravings.
There is a high likelihood that in the future, this drug or variations on it might be used for treating not just food noise, but craving noise.
Of course, you can change how you interact with the output of the machine, taking the route of mindfulness and meditation.
The clinical side of which manifests as cognitive behavioral therapy, and the spiritual side manifests as Buddhism or many other religions that have meditative practices, for example, Sufism.
Now, I believe this can be especially potent when coupled with controlling your environment. Controlling your environment limits the number of times you actually have to fight a craving. And then the times you do, you can lean on mindfulness and meditation to help you through it. And of course, focus the machine by retargeting it to the actual underlying need that the craving points to. For sugar, it's energy. For porn, it might be intimacy. For social media, it's connection and affiliation with others, and so on. The path of recovery and the path of healthy living is difficult in the modern mismatch. This is the entire problem with the craving machine. One final thing I will say is this: beware of the knowledge trap. Now, it's one thing to know everything that I've said to you today, and it's other to experientially live it. Unfortunately, I wish I could just directly help you. But with matters of cravings and feelings, experiential knowledge is just as important as intellectual knowledge. Living through something can teach you more about that thing than reading about it or listening about it. Make a cheat sheet, keep it on you, go through it as much as you can to really cement it on the intellectual side so that you can live it on the experiential side. Remember, control your environment, seek medical or medicinal help if you can get it, pursue mindfulness, and redirect the machine to more appropriate targets. Good luck.